Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to DiscussionVerse, and I am here to talk about my most anticipated horror movies for 2025. The year is definitely shaping up to be an awesome year for the horror genre. So in this video, I will be going over the movies that I think everyone should be the most hyped about. With that, I will also be throwing in some honorable mentions that most people might not know about because they're kind of flying under the radar, but they do sound really damn good. With that out of the way, I want to remind you guys to always smash that like button, leave a comment, and then if you're new to the channel, please click that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell so you never miss a new video. With that out of the way, let's get right into it. Let's kick things off by going with The Monkey, an adaptation of Stephen King's short story from the 1980s, which is being helmed by Osgood Perkins, the director behind Longlegs. This one's been generating a whole lot of chatter even before its release, and I completely understand why. Not only do the trailers look really good, but the plot is really interesting as the film is said to center around twin brothers Hal and Bill, who come across their father's creepy vintage toy monkey in the attic. From there, things take a horrifying turn as a string of mysterious deaths begin to unfold around them. In a desperate attempt to escape the curse, they get rid of the toy, but that doesn't stop anything. The deaths start to resurface, forcing the brothers to reunite and figure out a way to rid themselves of the cursed monkey once and for all. Like I said, the trailer alone has me intrigued because there's a solid mix of horror and dark comedy, and the tone is perfectly unsettling. There's also a whole lot of gore going on, and I'm sure the kills are going to be gnarly to see. Not only that, the film stars Theo James playing dual roles as the twin brothers Hal and Bill. Meanwhile, we have Tatiana Maslany, who is also known as She-Hulk, stepping into the role of their mother. Add to that stellar cast featuring Elijah Wood, Adam Scott, and Sarah Levi. That cast alone is definitely adding to the recipe here to make this a hit. Not only this, early reviews ahead of the release are positive, and some are even calling this Perkins' best work so far, which I'm excited for because I didn't really enjoy his movie The Black Coat's Daughter, but I really loved Longlegs. So I'm excited to see if he can find that balance and strike it with audience to really knock it out of the park and solidify himself as one of the bigger names in the horror genre, more so than his name is already now. I'm really excited for this movie, and it comes out in just 2 days on February 21st, so better mark your calendars. Next up, we do have Sinners, a movie that's got me really hyped for a lot of reasons. It's the directorial debut of Ryan Coogler in the horror genre. Yes, the same Ryan Coogler behind Black Panther and Creed. Coogler not only wrote and directed this, but also produced it, so we're in for something special with an original idea being put on the big screen now. The film is set in the 1930s during the Jim Crow era, which gives it a historical backdrop full of tension and dark themes. The story itself follows another set of twin brothers, Smoke and Stack, who return to their hometown in an attempt to start fresh, only to discover that something far worse than their past is waiting for them. And who better to play these twins than Michael B. Jordan? Jordan is taking on the dual roles of Smoke and Stack, which is already setting up for an intense performance. Joining him is Haley Steinfeld as Mary and Jack O'Connell as the villainous vampire Remick. From the premise and the trailer, the film is giving off serious 30 Days a Night vibes, and by that I mean vampires who are ruthless, merciless, and just downright terrifying. I'm especially curious about how the twin brothers' relationship will also evolve against the backdrop of supernatural chaos. It's also noted that Ryan Coogler recently spoke to The Hollywood Reporter, and he told them that the film is specifically not just about vampires, and that the vampires are not the only supernatural element that is seen. So I'm curious to see how that is expanded on and if that is going to be balanced within the whole film, but I really do trust Coogler, especially when he's doing all three tasks in writing, directing, and producing. So let him have at it. This film is definitely a must watch, and it is coming out April 18th, 2025, so you gotta mark your calendars. I truly do hope that Coogler is able to knock it out of the park and solidify himself in the horror genre and also bring back vampires in the horror genre, because I think that was a little bit forgotten and pushed to the wayside with not a lot of strong movies coming out in recent years, aside from Nosferatu and Abigail. I personally think that Coogler is gonna knock it out of the park, so I would advise all of you guys to mark this in your calendar as one of the most hyped horror movies of 2025. Next up, we got Megan 2.0, and I gotta say, I'm actually pretty excited for this one. The sequel to the 2022 hit Megan is bringing Gerard Johnstone as the writer-director along with Akilah Cooper co-writing. Of course, Johnstone is most notable here for helming Megan in 2022, but he got his start with the 2014 movie Housebound. And if you haven't seen Housebound, which I know some of you haven't, do yourself a favor and go check it out, because you'll know how Johnstone got this knack for creating a tense, darkly comedic thriller. Because you can't deny that Megan in 2022 was a commercial and financial success, plus a critical success. That's why it got its sequel announced 2 weeks after its release date. So it's easy to see why most, including myself, would be really hyped for this movie, especially with its release date coming out June 27, 2025. Now, in Too Megan Too Furious, or Megan 2.0 I should say, we follow Gemma as she is now an author and an advocate for the regulation of AI with her recent experience in protecting her niece Katie, though Megan's technology has been stolen and now used by a defense contractor to create a spy robot called Amelia. Amelia then becomes self-aware and is set on AI takeover. Gemma responds by reconstructing an upgraded version of Megan to fight Amelia, and Amelia is said to be played by an actress named Ivana Sakno. Along with the main cast returning, we also know that fellow roboticists Cole and Tess will be joining Gemma and Katie in this movie once again, and we also found out some details that Cole is going to be the one to steal Megan's specs and give them off to the defense contractor that then ends up creating Amelia. So we have some information there on that, but everything else is pretty much tight-lipped, though we can say that the film is reading as like a Terminator 2 sequel in the sense that we get the once villain now used in the form of good. So it's going to be exciting to see how that plays out and how they handle it. But of course, the main question that's on everybody's mind, including me, is how long is that going to last with Megan until she decides to turn the tables once again on Gemma to take over for Katie and control her life. Nonetheless, this is easily one of my most anticipated horror films for 2025, and I'm really excited to see how they expand on the whole enemy of my enemy is now my friend trope and really knock it out of the park with Megan 2.0, because the first one was just really that good. I think it had a lot of great elements. Could it have benefited from extending more of the thriller slash horror vibes? Of course, naturally, but you gotta understand that they were testing the waters with a new concept and seeing how it played out for audiences. Now, there might not be that much hesitation to show things and push the boundaries of a PG-13 rating, and we also know that Megan got an unrated cut, so it's likely that Megan 2.0 would also receive some sort of unrated cut down the line. But I urge you guys to mark your calendar for June 27th, 2025. The next one you guys got to get excited for here is The Black Phone Part 2, which is a surprise sequel announcement to The Black Phone, which was released in 2021. This movie actually finished filming really recently, January 23rd, 2025, and was officially greenlit as of November 2023. I actually think it's pretty fascinating how this project and sequel came to be, because you would think that they're just kind of crash grabbing, but I don't think that's the case here. As the director Scott Derrickson had spoken about, the original author Joe Hill approached him and said he had a quote-unquote wonderful idea for a sequel, which they jumped at the chance at to do. It's also been reported that Joe Hill was really inspired by the Grabber's iconic mask and the imagery that they were able to achieve with the original Black Phone, and I gotta agree, I love a lot of those old-timey shots where the Grabber is seen and he's posing for a camera and us, the audience, in a kind of a fourth wall break, but not really, just to kind of give off these creepy vibes. I really love that aspect that was in the Black Phone, and I would love to see more of it, and I'm sure that's what he was referring to here when it inspired him to come back and write a whole new sequel. There's also the added benefit that the full cast is returning, and we are seeing Demian Bichir and Ariana Rivas join the cast as new characters, though of course the real draw is going to be seeing Finney return and his sister, who is also psychic, and the Grabber return, all played by the same cast. And Ethan Hawke's The Grabber is seriously one of the most recent iconic horror villains of all time. So I'm excited to see how this is going to play out, especially with the fact that we saw Finney absolutely give the smackdown on the Grabber, right? He beat the living shit out of him and he killed him, broke his neck. That's it, done, bye. So the question is, are we seeing the Grabber come back as a real figure again, or is this some sort of apparition? My current theory aligns with the latter. I think that we are going to see the Grabber back as an apparition of sorts for the trauma that Finney and his sister Gwen had faced. And if you remember, Finney's sister is actually psychic and was crucial in helping locate where Finney was. Their brother-sister relationship was really strong in a unique aspect in the backdrop of a truly grim, dark horror film such as The Black Phone. But with that, it's important to note where I'm getting at here, because we also have Miguel Mora returning as Robin. And if you remember, Robin was the kid that helped Finney realize that he needs to stand up for himself and taught him some good moves that he used against the Grabber to end up killing and breaking his neck. Because if you remember, Finney brought the absolute smackdown, broke his neck, that was it, done, goodbye. Now, since Robin was one of the victims to the Grabber and is dead, and now that the Grabber himself is dead, it could be possible that Finney and Gwen are both dealing with the deals of PTSD and the effects of the trauma that they went through. But it also could be the fact that because we know that there are supernatural elements that exist in this universe and that the ghost kids exist, what's to say that the Grabber doesn't exist in that plane and is now in control, so to speak, as the kids were? Because if you remember, the kids were able to help communicate and show Finney what he needed to do in order to try to get out. But I don't know, maybe not, right? Because if you remember, the Grabber was absolutely terrified as he was about to die and being approached by all the ghost kids that he killed. So I don't know. As there are very little plot details, it's clear that there's a lot of mystery still surrounding surrounding what the film is going to be centered on and what they're going to do with the characters and the returning cast that they have. But nonetheless, I'm really excited to see where they're going to go, and I really think that they have something in store for us, because I personally don't believe that this is any sort of cash grab. So if I were you, I'd be marking your calendars now for October 17, 2025, when the Black Phone 2 comes out. Last but not least, I do have the honorable mentions here that I mentioned before. The first is going to be Five Nights at Freddy's Part 2, as I would say the first movie took everyone by surprise, including myself, becoming a huge hit, and now we're getting a sequel, which is confirmed to be releasing on December 5th, 2025. And this was actually confirmed by Matthew Lillard, who is going to be returning as the film's villain, William Afton. Of course, we can't forget that Josh Hutcherson is also reprising his role as Mike, the security guard who managed to escape with his sister Abby in the first film. Hutcherson himself recently teased in interviews that the film is going to be scarier while also maintaining the grounded emotional core for the characters. He did also mention that while the Five Nights at Freddy's world is bizarre and over the top, the team worked hard to keep the emotional truth of the characters front and center. Nonetheless, I'm really excited because I actually enjoyed Five Nights at Freddy's. I thought it was a great adaptation. Even if I'm not a huge fan of the game, it was still a breath of fresh air for the horror genre. So hopefully the sequel is strong, because that would only make the horror genre itself stronger. Final honorable mention that I have here is going to be Monkey Paw's upcoming film titled Him. This is set to release in 2025, and if you recall, Monkey Paw Productions is run by Jordan Peele. The film itself is shaping up to be one of the most unique horror experiences of 2025. Him is an American sports horror film directed by Justin Tipping, written by Zach Akers and Skip Bronke, and it's produced by Jordan Peele's Monkey Paw Productions, as mentioned here. The film itself is set to hit theaters on September 19, 2025 through Universal Pictures, while starring Marlon Wayans and Tyreek Withers. The plot itself sounds truly unsettling, as it follows a young miraculous football player named Benny Mathis, who's invited to train to a secluded high-stakes compound. There he becomes the protege of legendary quarterback Connor Dane, who is played by Marlon Wayans, who seems to have defied the laws of nature by continuing his career long past the typical expiration date expected from most athletes. It's not just about football though. As Benny dives deeper into the world, it's said that he begins to uncover the dark and dangerous lengths that some will go in order to maintain their power, fame, and excellence. The film itself is being described as a blood-chilling journey into the inner workings of fame, power, obsession, with a deadly pursuit of greatness that comes with a terrifying cost. Joining Marlon Wayans and Tyreek Withers is going to be Tim Heidecker, Jim Jeffries, hip-hop artist Quadpad 4000, and Tierra Whack. And if you remember, Tim Heidecker was also in Us, and he played one of the characters central to that film. Overall, that's a pretty impressive cast, and what makes this project even more interesting is the blend of sports culture and horror, a genre fusion we don't often see. The mystery surrounding the plot and its focus on fame, legacy, and the dark side of competition definitely has me intrigued, so that's why this has made the honorable mentions list, and I'm really looking forward to this movie. With that in mind, that does wrap up my thoughts here on the most anticipated horror films and my 2 honorable mentions that I think everyone should be looking out for. I really hope you guys enjoyed this, and I do want to hear your thoughts on what you guys are most excited for down in the comments below. Maybe something that I missed. Friendly reminder once again, if you like this video, please smash that like button, leave a comment, and then subscribe if you're new to the channel. With that subscription, turn on that notification bell so you never miss a new video. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.